28th Economic Development Committee meeting to order, please. And please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you everyone for being here tonight. I want to thank Rob for conducting a meeting last month here, and the committee for finalizing our facade program, which I think will be an amazing benefit for the 41 corridor, and I think it goes to the RDC tonight, or is that right, RD?
I believe so.
Yep,
Yes,
yep.
it's
On the agenda for tonight, so.
confident it will pass.
Yeah. So if everybody would look at the minutes and,
Oh, roll call?
oh,
Yeah.
excuse me, yes. I'll call that out. Dave Beasold,
Present.
Erica Hill, absent. Kelly Stroming, absent. Carl,
Present.
Robert,
Here.
Joe Barry,
Here.
myself, I'm present. Our town manager, Chris, is here, and also town council member, Mr. Aurelio.
Yes,
and
sir.
Jason, our IT director, so thank you. And so you have the minutes in front of you from last June 23rd meeting. And you've reviewed them, and they look in order. I'd like to hear a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Our new business tonight is our Riverfront development. And since I started on EDC, the biggest request from our residents when we did our survey years ago here was restaurants, more a little bit finer dining. And so our wonderful town manager is Mr. Solanas, has been working very hard on that and has got some great news for us tonight that we can attach to within 1,500 feet, I believe, right? Is that true, Chris, on
So
Riverfront? Yep.
I included in your packet
Yep.
the IC code 7.1
Right.
-3-20-16, which outlines the municipal riverfront development project, which, as it states here, it's the first thing in your packet after the minutes, alcoholic beverage permit requirements. So it does outline, and without going too far into legal fees, there outlines a path that will allow the town to designate an area off of a river up to 1,500 feet. But if you read a little further down in subsection D, it also allows for a 3,000 foot parcel off of that. So again, without going too far into legal fees, I first just wanted to make sure this is something the town could actually undertake, especially since I'm sure everyone here is a St. John resident, and you probably don't know of a river cutting through St. John.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah. So luckily for us, we did incur a little bit of legal fees. We called Barnes and Thornburg. Councilman Aurelio was on that call, and the state does not have a definition for river. And lucky for us, on the back of your packet, so we have Noblesville, which is on a river. We have Aurora, which is also on a river. And then our neighbors to the east, Chesterton, are not on a river. So that is the most applicable to our community. They use Coffee Creek. We're going to use Bull Run Ditch. The Noblesville and Aurora did the 1,500 feet off of their river as their riverfront development district. And Chesterton, which did theirs, as from what I can tell, from a date stamp on one of the documents I saw, in 2009, they made this designation. And they did a 3,000-foot limit off of their river. And this allows them to then allow for additional liquor licenses. In one of the documents here, you can read that it says up to unlimited within that district. So we saw this as when I first started here, several councilmen had brought this up to me as an avenue they'd like to entertain and to look a little further into. So this is just a collection of information that I pulled off the internet for review, to digest, to get some ideas, so we can look at possible opportunities within the town to designate this district. Now, as you can read through the Indiana Code, it says this has to be in an economic development district, which is just the TIF district. So as long as we can designate, and lucky for us, Bull Run Ditch does flow through the TIF district, we can start to kind of create a path and outline where we'd like to see this district meander through the TIF district and along that ditch to create this district, which, as John outlined in the beginning of this meeting, would allow us to attract additional development restaurants into the town through liquor licenses that will be immovable. So these aren't like your traditional liquor license that are attached to population. These will be attached to this district, and they cannot move from the location that they are placed.
So it'll be on that property address.
So it'll be on that property. From what I've gathered so far from looking at the resolution that I believe it's City of Aurora passed, they don't designate the addresses, which is probably a good thing, but we can place additional restrictions on it. There are some restrictions that it cannot just be a bar. So it will be a restaurant, which is exactly what we're looking to do. We don't need additional bars along 41 and in prime development. We want nice restaurants that want to serve alcohol.
Is there a way for us to align ourselves with that thought in ordinances to prevent a developer from selling to other types of businesses in that area? Or to discourage, 4 or 5 businesses that are not a restaurant? Pawn shop, it could be anything.
So you're
Or a restaurant that's not going to serve alcohol.
within your 41 corridor and your 231 corridor, the town has an overlay district which outlines specific uses that are not allowed. So within the for example, and I have to apologize, I'm only been here for a month and a half or so, so I'm not extremely familiar with your 41 overlay district, but having watched some previous videos from the town, tobacco shops aren't allowed within the 41 district. So there are ways to control development within those areas. So yes, the answer to that is yes, the town can control and has set in the past measures that will kind of dictate what's allowed in certain developments and what's not.
So by zoning even, you could maybe.
Correct.
Permitted use, non-permitted use, so to speak.
Correct. So this would not be something that the EDC could act on. This has to be an act from the Redevelopment Commission. But we imagine that we would like input from the EDC, especially as we're designing this district. And since you guys are the business owners or business owners throughout the community, and the people that we would look to help attract restaurants and developments over, we certainly want your input. So that's what these 4 pieces of information are in front of you, are to kind of start digesting. If you decide to go on the Lake County GIS and look at the town of St. John from a satellite view, you can start to look at where Bull Run Ditch meanders through the town and get an idea of where we would like to see this go and form. So that way we can, when we do get to the point of having to pull the trigger on this, as you can see with the City of Aurora, we do have to designate the district in a resolution, and it has to be specific. So it does have to border on one side the quote-unquote river. There are some areas that are disqualified, so where it goes underground, we can't use it. So you can see it does go underground around the Strax Plaza area, so that would be disqualified, but it pops back up on the other side there, and we can use that again, and that's also in the TIF district. And then where it kind of meanders again through the north, that is not in the TIF district where St. John Malt Brothers is now, but it's a simple process to have that included into the TIF district if the EDC, the RDC, and the town council would like to see that included in the riverfront development area. So again, this is food for thought. This isn't something that's set in stone, but it's something that gives the town an additional tool to attract development that it would like. So if you kind of look too, I believe just doing a rough, playing around with the line measure tool on the top toolbar here on the GIS, I believe we could probably even get the two remaining lots in the shops on 96, what would be behind Wendy's, within the Riverfront District on the 1,500 feet alone. There is a clause further down here that says you could expand it to 3,000 feet as Chesterton did, but before we get that far, I would like to just stay conservative with the 1,500 feet. Because even then, outside of, if you're going 3,000 feet, you're really just hitting residential areas within the town, and there's no need to possibly give someone the idea that, hey, I'm going to apply for a liquor license for my house.
My house?
We
That's
don't.
not a bad idea.
Yeah.
It does look like the most developable land for this is actually east of 41.
Yeah, so we were looking at, that this industrial area here, we were looking at the finishing out the Ravenwood area. Sorry, Jason, you're doing a good job though. There's some lots there that could potentially also be targets depending on, and I don't know what, again, there's going to be, it's also going to be hinged on the overlay plan, what's allowed in those areas, and any economic development or additional restrictions that are placed in those areas. But there's also some commercial development that's coming in over by the shrine, or could potentially be coming in. The Franciscans bought property to the east of the shrine, so if they don't build a hospital there, there's speculation that they may sell as an investment property, which could also be commercially developed. And then over by Theo's, there's also Chop House, the owners of Theo's. That could also potentially develop commercially. And then if we're getting really wild with it and can get the 3,000 feet out, we potentially could go on the other side of the tracks on 231 and get that commercial property here, because that's zoned commercial property on the north side of 231, east side of the tracks. As a riverfront district as well.
That's hilarious, we're so far away and you can do that, so.
And again, that's the way the state law is written on here. It says, and I have to go in. I'm at section 2B, 3 city blocks from the river, whichever is greater, so 1,500 feet or 3 city blocks. However, if the area adjacent to the river is incapable of being developed because the area is a floodplain, or for any other reason that prevents the area from being developed, the distance described in clauses A and B are measured from the city blocks located nearest to the river that are capable of being developed. Now that's pretty loosely written to where we could again kind of play with it, and I would say play with it as being conservative. So we don't want to stretch this too far. We want to be intelligent about this, but we want to also provide opportunities for economic development that otherwise would not have happened without this designation. And that's the idea from the state's perspective, is these licenses will not be able to be resold. They are strictly to the parcels that they're given to, and they're for $1,000 flat. That's it. So once you have it, it's there. It's not like your traditional movable three-way licenses where they go into the secondary market and they could rise in value significantly. I'm sure we've all probably heard of some crazy stories of them going for exorbitant prices. So this is for targeted economic development, and again, for restaurant type of development.
What's this body of water just north of 231? There you go. Just go up a little bit.
It's like another little river.
Is that part of it? No, right here. Looks like a pond or a lake.
That's what they are, they're ponds.
Does that connect to the ditch?
Are we talking about the same thing as?
Yeah, yeah.
That's private.
Oh, no, up to the top of the screen.
On the north side of that,
On-
between the tracks
Big
there,
water there?
Just the big water, just east of, there you go.
right there.
Yeah.
Now, so as
Developed.
part of this, they do have a municipal
Okay,
lakefront development project, but the requirements there are maybe a little more strict. And the other issue we're running into, and I didn't research that as much because what we were kind of looking at was the river idea.
Right.
I do know Hobart and Cedar Lake had applied for additional liquor license, but the reason that they were able to get it is because their lakefront is entirely incorporated within the town. So as you can see here, the two parcels south there are unincorporated right now. So those would have to be annexed in before we could even probably talk about having that applied. However, if you look a little further north, the creek does come up there. So we could probably still designate that area off of the creek, not having to use that water, that body of water right there. But we can certainly look at
And you do
using
have
that
the
as well.
option to go up to 3,000 feet, right? Is that what that one says?
That's sort of how I read this, but again, I'd like to get a lawyer's opinion on that before I say for certain. But as we see with Chesterton, they did do 3,000 feet.
Yeah. So that really opens up opportunities for the town to collect alcohol tax, commercial tax, and there's more revenue here that
Specifically,
generated.
just the taxes generated from additional economic development. I'm not sure how much alcohol tax we will be getting, but what it really is filling a need within the community that the community has definitely spoken out about. I think that's one of the things you probably hear about a lot is we want.
The number one request that I get on almost a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing we should consider, though, is with these sites, is how much parking, because I've talked to a few restaurants, they could use up to, if it's a banquet, they could use up to 200 cars. So
Certainly.
that should be done maybe in a study session or something that we can banter around with town council and try to get some good advice on what is doable on these certain sites that are.
We also have to make sure it fits the landowner's objectives.
Yep.
We can make all the designations we want, but if it's not within their development plans and they don't have an interest in doing it, we can't force it upon them.
Right.
So again, this is meant to be a conversation starter to give us options and opportunities throughout the community.
One question, what is what's the northern boundary and what's the southern boundary for the creek as far as this project or this proposal? Where's
So if you
how's it
could hit
bounded?
the TIF district overlay, it would really be, and again, the TIF district can always be expanded and follow the river as we want, Creek River, as we would like to increase this riverfront development area, but you're really going to be limited as to where the creek meets commercial developable land and where it is in the TIF district. There's also some other stipulations in here where the town has to have expended money within the TIF within the riverfront project area to help development. But that's not going to be a big problem because the town's expended quite a bit of money within the TIF district already. And as you can see with the Aurora designation or resolution here, they just highlight how much money they've spent within their TIF district or the development area. And I think if we get the shops on 96 or anywhere on 41, we've expended a good deal of money moving water line to make sure that that area is developable. That could be included in there to show that we've, in good faith effort, tried to make sure that this area is developed. And the state law does not state an X amount of dollars that must be expended. So if we put $1 into it, we've met the state criteria. But certainly the town has put in more than a fair chunk of money into its TIF district.
You know, we're probably going to want to get the ball rolling on this, put our heads together, especially with so much land that's already been developed out by shops on 96. I mean, there are openings there yet, and that can change someone's mind if they know that they can get in a liquor license, whereas to now, it's you don't know if you can get that.
Yeah.
So, you know, the reason we're getting Wendy's and the reason we're getting Arby's is we can't get right now Ruth's Chris because they can't be certain that they're going to get a liquor license.
Right.
So they're not going to spend the money to come into town.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason again, bringing this information to you so we can get that conversation started, getting it to a more serious level where we can start really focusing in on where we want this, and so that way the RDC and the council also can start preparing a resolution to make that designation so we can start making that something we can offer to the landowners in the area and developers.
So going back to your parking question, so we had thought through a little bit of that as well. Some of the properties that would maybe have a parking issue, wouldn't that be a great problem to have in the future? Parking issue where we had so many people enjoying, restaurants or in our entertainment district where it would, we would have a parking problem where you had to consider a parking garage or something, some kind of, solution to that. Wouldn't that be a great problem to have in town? So.
Well, and it really turns what could have been a problem, that Bull Run Ditch, having floodways and all that, into a real asset now. Now we're able to turn a ditch, or what we're going to classify as a river, into a economic tool that we can now use to.
We checked on this before. They had a lot of questions about the ditch. And now because of your investigating and digging into it a little more, that we can designate it as a part of a river. I mean, it's this is pretty exciting for the town.
It's going to be South Lake County's premier river, just like
sir.
Coffee Creek
Yes, sir. This is gonna be
has helped
super
Chesterton.
awesome.
Yeah.
River boats up and down, there's gonna be
That I didn't say.
I know you did.
And, we might want to think about it, but for the forethought, and especially with parking in mind, these are thinner zones, so there's not going to be a lot of parking. If we were able to, as a town, get a parcel and do a public-private on a parking garage down the line, once we already have infrastructure, businesses in place, and the need is there, and that need needs to be fulfilled. Same thing that's being done in areas of Florida. They have a municipal garage. They charge, $5, $6 a head to get the cars in. I mean, that's you still have upkeep and maintenance on something like that, but it's still a revenue source for the town.
Mm-hmm.
It's something to think about.
absolutely.
So that's what I have so far. Again, there's plenty of information here to take home, read up on, and digest, and really food for thought.
Well, I have a couple restaurants that will be back in the game now. And so if I can get with you and see what some of those lots are, and then we can go to those property owners, maybe we can encourage somebody to come here, but it has to be approved by town council.
For sure. So what my ask as a councilman would be, please work on this judiciously and quickly.
Say that
I would
again?
ask you to get to this, work on this diligently.
Yeah.
Because this is something I think that is, there's no reason to delay. You know, the winds are at our back. Let's do this while the winds are, we can get this. I think that there's an appetite from the council, you know, in you working through these details and getting to it. I'd ask you to do it, you know, just get to it and, you know, get to the work would be great. You know, be a great partner for the town and be a great thing for everybody. So, yeah, please.
You know, when we're talking about liquor license, I'd like to quickly pivot to other revenue sources for the town and sources of bringing in foot traffic. Having events at our parks. I mean, currently we can't have events at our parks where there's beer sales because we have town ordinance. I think we should look into amending that ordinance to allow for special use permits so that we can. We're missing out on money into the town and we're missing out on foot traffic.
Could you add that to, as a second agenda item where you can do both? Is that, would the committee have enough time for both of those items? Because I agree with that. So the fireworks, this year, we had our first fireworks show in many years. What a draw. And it would be great to build on that, to have maybe some food trucks and do a wine and beer garden and something for the families who can just enjoy that area. Not only would it be a great thing, a nice community event, but it would be a revenue generator. Wouldn't that be great to have that? I agree. It's a great idea.
There's municipalities in the area that run events and that are, they'll have a beer tent. And I think like their Parks and Rec department run it. I mean, the amount of money that some of these communities generate off of that is unbelievable. Huge revenue source.
Well, Chris, thanks for pulling this information. It's this is a wonderful start. We have talked about this and how to figure it out, and you were able to do that. And I appreciate your efforts in this. Thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you.
Great job.
Yep.
Great job. So, okay. Anybody have any more questions for Chris? We're going to move on to reports and correspondence. Joe, do you have anything
I
to
do not.
report on? Rob?
Nothing today.
Nothing today?
I do not either.
Carl?
Nothing today?
Okay. I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I'll second.
Second? Yep. Is that a yeah, Dave?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.